Stories, we've all got them. Have you made some of these financial mistakes? Stick around. The answers might surprise you. We've all done dumb things with money, including myself. This week, I'm going to share with you several financial mistakes you should avoid. My pain is your gain. First, not having an emergency fund. 2/3 of all Americans don't have $1,000 set aside for an emergency. That's enough to keep you from 90% of what Murphy's Law will throw at you. If you don't have an emergency fund, go on a spending freeze until you set it aside. You need this important security in place. For more information on this topic, watch my previous Savvy Saturday video, The Essentials of an Emergency Fund. Next, not considering a side hustle. I spent almost 10 years drifting across day jobs before I woke up and started to pursue this passion of coaching. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Are you stuck in the 9 to 5 and just going in circles? Whether it's a side hustle that turns into a business or just a separate gig to help you pursue your passions, you owe it to yourself to not miss out. The cost of living continues to rise and job security is becoming a thing of the past. Don't look back at your life and regret, wondering what could have been. For more information on this topic, check out my previous Savvy Saturday video, 20 side hustles to attack and profit from right now. Next, staying at a job that isn't helping you grow. Whether it's a dead-end day job, working under leadership that's stunting your growth, or some other less than ideal situation, don't settle. Life is more than money, and countless people have turned their passion into profit. If you've been making the mistake of staying somewhere that's holding you back, make a plan, set a goal, and start hustling. Life is too short, and keep in mind that while the average raise is around 3%, changing your job could boost your income as much as 10 to 20%. Next, not tracking what you spend. People ask me all the time, what is the number one problem you see people having with money? My answer, not paying attention. We live in a culture that is way too busy, short-term minded, and filled with distraction. One of the best things you can do to take charge of your money is to start writing it down. Not make a report at the end of the day. Write down what you're spending immediately after you spend it. Don't drive away or walk away without doing so. Bought a coffee? Write it down. Paid a bill? Write it down. Writing things down builds a long-lost connection between your brain and your actions. You can move to a more sophisticated system later, but first, you need to rebuild that awareness muscle. You can get started with this right now. Next, not thinking long-term or holistically with how you make spending decisions. This is a big one. If you aren't thinking holistically with certain expenses, it can backfire. For example, I want to go on a trip. I need to buy plane tickets, a rental car, lodging, and I'll need to have money for food while there and while traveling. Because plane tickets can be so volatile, people often jump at a good sale without having done the full research on the rest of the costs, and then they're locked in because the tickets are non-refundable. This often leads to overspending on the rest of the trip expenses because of pressure to make it happen and lack of planning. Instead, find and book lodging, making sure it's a refundable booking, and a rental car, which is almost always refundable 24 hours before. Then move to the other expenses. Likewise, if you're not thinking long-term with your spending, you may buy something in one category or overall, and forget that a while from now, you needed some of that money for something else, and then boom, it busts your budget. So how can you start thinking more long-term today? Next, leaving debt a foothold. Keeping credit cards around because of emergency or because it's sentimental or because you just think it's necessary to win financially is a huge mistake. Think of it this way. If a snake bit you and you survived the snake bite, would you keep it in the house as a pet in a tank? No. Keeping credit cards around is keeping risk and temptation around. Give yourself the gift of free plastic surgery and destroy them. Once they've got a zero balance, close them. If you continue to play with fire, you will continue to get burned. Next, not learning how to cook the basics. Man cannot live on bread alone, but you also can't live on grilled cheese, ramen, and hot dogs either. In the absence of home economics class, you'll have to teach yourself, but take heart. You live in the age of YouTube. There is almost practically no reason these days to not know how to cook the basics. Dining out can put a big dent in your expenses and often isn't very healthy. So call up mom, pull up YouTube, or channel your inner Julia Childs and get started. There's no substitute for experience. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. For more tips on how to save money those times you do eat out, check out my previous Savvy Saturday video, how to keep your stomach and wallet full when eating out. Next, not setting goals. Goals are essential. No one is motivated, at least not long-term, by doing the smart financial stuff just because it's the wise thing to do. What are your values? What does wealth mean to you? What's the most important thing in life? you need to dig deep and ask yourself these tough yet important questions. You can have a sound ship to sail with, but without a rudder, you'll spend your journey wandering. And lastly, developing habits that are costly. Whether it's that daily coffee habit or that golf hobby, there are dozens of little decisions you make that can add up long term to be very costly. The next time you make the choice to do something for the second time, ask yourself if you can afford it long term. And if not, choose to say no, or make a solid plan to compensate for it in your spending plan without detracting from your other goals and staying zero-based. I challenge you to replace fear of missing out with the joy of missing out. By having goals and knowing your priorities, every decision becomes filtered through your purpose. I hope you found this information helpful. Make sure to download my free ebook, The Money Finder, which helps you save in 6 major expense areas. And come join me in the Strong Together Money community. It's my free Facebook community designed to keep you focused, informed, and growing on your financial journey. This has been Jeremy with Strength in Numbers, helping you find more money to fund your dreams.